life. Never let somebody stand over you holding your salvation in their hands. Because here's what the scripture says, that these men will oppose the truth. They will have depraved minds. As far as faith is concerned, they are rejected. And it says in the end, they'll be caught up. This is what the religious leaders will look like. Men of depraved minds, and that's pretty scary. It goes on to say that since the time Noah built the ark, there'll never be a time like that until the latter days. And you see, this can't be more relevant than today. If you're honest with yourself and you look around the society and you look around the culture and you see what's really going on and you try to just get out of your little bubble, the culture's a cesspool around us. We are extremely selfish. We're extremely self-centered. We're extremely self-conscious. We're extremely self-righteous. The focus of everything we do in our culture especially is based upon self. And even worse, there are teachers in the church who openly oppose the teachings of the Bible. And the scary thing is that there are people who sit under such teachers and don't even recognize it. They don't even realize it. Because they don't know the teachings of the Bible. And what they say sounds culturally correct. What they say sounds kind of loving. What they say sounds kind of true. Even though it openly opposes what Scripture teaches. Even worse than this, it's not only the sin in the hearts of the leaders, but it's the fact that they encourage others to do the same as well. When we look through the history of the church, or even the scandal that's coming up in the Catholic Church, I don't point fingers because fingers are going to point back. But there's always been sin in the church, that's true. There's always been sin in the leaders of the church, that's also true. But I believe we're in a day nowadays where the leaders of the church not only sin, but they openly encourage others to sin as well, telling them that it's fine with God. And I'll suggest to you two things. In the midst of the history of the church, and this is quite alarming to me, there's never been a day where the church openly ordained homosexuals. There's never been a day where the church openly promoted the murder of babies. There's never been a day where the church openly said that there's many ways to Jesus Christ and Jesus is but one. But if you check out what liberal Christianity says today, which is a huge part of who we are, the mainline denominations, we're so far from preaching the truth that these churches once stood for. Romans says this, I won't read it all. But it says, since they did not acknowledge God when they knew God, that God turned them over to that same thing, a depraved mind. And it goes on at the end to say that not only do they continue in their sins, but they approve of others who practice the same thing. You see, there's a level of wickedness when you live in sin. But there's a greater level of wickedness when you become so comfortable with the sin that you're in that you encourage other people to live exactly the way you do to calm your own conscience. When the Bible talks about depraved minds, wicked imaginations, it goes back to the day of the flood. When God looked down upon the earth, and it says that God repented in his heart because the meditations of their hearts, their thoughts, the things they thought about all day was constantly wicked. Genesis 6:5 said that God saw the wickedness in the hearts of men, and it was so great before him that their every imagination was continually wicked. See, this describes a woeful condition, a condition of morality. A condition of wickedness and indifference. A condition where people just decided to think whatever they would, say whatever they would, and live however they will. These are the days of Noah. And Jesus warns in Matthew 24 that before his coming, it's going to be just like the days of Noah. That people are going to be busy. I read this last week. Eating, drinking, marrying, making money. They're just going to be busy living their life, and they're going to have no clue that the rain is about to fall. They're going to have no clue that judgment is about to come. And just like in the days of Noah, the minds will be the place of wickedness. The heart will be the place of wickedness. Until the door finally shuts, until the rain finally falls, until the event happened that seals the greatest day in the history of the world. You see, I'll suggest to you something. And it's amazing how God speaks to me. And He uses like the most strange things. In the Old Testament, He uses an ass to speak to a prophet. Well, for me, He uses the sun. I'm not the most technically savvy person you know. But I saw something that I found interesting yesterday, and I didn't know how it would tie into this. But as you know, I have a daughter who is starting high school, and all of a sudden these things stick out more to me than they did before. But it talked about, on the front page of the Sun, so it's not like I went to the back to look for it, it talked about a Japanese rape game. And I'm like, a Japanese rape game? What could a Japanese rape game be? And of course, I'm a reader of the Sun. And I read it and I looked at it and I said, this can't be true. But it kind of works like this. There's a game in Japan. In fact, there's a number of games in Japan where you can role play, just like all of the other role play games. However, the object of this game is that you follow 3 females on a train. There's a mother and 2 young girls. One's about 16, the other's probably 15. And in the object of this game, you get to interactively abuse, rape, do all kinds of things to these girls. You can then join interactively with your friends, and they can also rape the girls as well. Somehow in this game, it even says that you can force them to have an abortion after the fact. There's another game where you can rape your boss. There's another game, and the sexual connotation of these seems strange, but we're so desensitized. If I told you that there was a game where you can walk around a high school and shoot all your teachers, you'd be like, yeah, I heard about that. Or if there's a game where you can pretend that you're some sort of deranged psychopath stealing cars and killing people on the street and shooting people in the face and doing whatever you want, you'd say, yeah, I know, that's Grand Theft Auto. You see, that's what I'm trying to say. Desensitization. No longer do we have to struggle with the imagination, guys. A long time ago, in a time far away, in a land far away, when you wanted to have a wicked imagination, you know what you had to do? You had to close your eyes. And you had to conjure up things with your own imagination. You used to have to sit down at your bed at night and think of things yourself. But now you don't even have to do that. Today you have hordes of prepubescent hormonal teenagers deciding, hey, what should I do today? Should I randomly walk through my school and kill students? Should I steal a car? Should I have cyber sex with anybody I want? I could even make them look like anybody I want. Should I rape somebody today? You see, the Japanese game simply reveals something about what we've done with what God has given us. The technology we have. Whether it's movies, whether it's pornography, whether it's interactive video games, whether it's YouTube, whatever it is. We have used all this technology to increase our ability to imagine wickedness. And it's going to get before God. It did before and it will again. And it's not like I step out of this. I hang out with people in the daytime and I listen to what they talk about. If you're on a work site somewhere in the city, if you're in a construction site, if you're in a work van, if you're just chilling with regular people, perhaps not the corporate types because they keep their twisted minds on a lower level because they can get in trouble. But if you're with the blue collar types who say exactly what they mean, you will come to understand that the meditations of a lot of people's hearts, most people's hearts, dwell on wickedness all day long. And God says there's a level. There's a level and then there's a cutoff point. You see, a lot of my preaching reflects this belief, guys. And I feel I have to apologize for this sometimes. But it's still true. And whether I believe it in my heart, it's going to come out of my mouth if I say it with my words or not. But I believe that Jesus Christ could come at any specific time. And you see, this is a teaching that's been lost in our church. As I teach you about the biblical time clock, I hope that reminds you and encourages you that, hey, if these letters in Revelation are correct, that God has given us a time clock that says, listen, the church age has a duration and it's coming to an end. When you look at the prophetic evidence, when you look at what it says about Israel and the birth of Israel, the destruction of Israel, and the rebirth of Israel.